refuse to buy from any corporation that does not commit to creating a sustainable, just, and peaceful world, there will be only corporations out there that are committed to that. We have that power, and that's the good news about this modern empire that's been created. And you here in Iceland are on the cutting edge of that. You are in an amazing position, and I think the world is looking to you to see what you're going to do now. You recently accepted a loan from the IMF at a time when nobody else in the world was taking loans from the IMF. Latin America said no more of that. And now the IMF is getting a huge boost at the recent G20 conferences by getting $1 trillion from them. So you helped make that possible. And you're stuck with this loan, and you have a huge, huge debt burden that I don't think you can pay. And I don't think you owe it. Because I don't think probably anybody, is anybody in this room sign off on any of those documents? No. You know, I've seen this all over South America. I was an economic hitman. I went out and I convinced governments, heads of governments, secretaries of finance, and so on and so forth, to sign on, to accept loans that I knew they couldn't pay. Now, who's responsible for that? I had tremendous resources behind me to produce reports and econometric studies that proved that they could pay and that their country would benefit. But it was a lie. I'm responsible. If Ecuador owes lots of money, I ought to be the one to pay it. I just discovered this last tax season that because of the stock market and so on, I lost more money last year than I realized I had. So if somebody goes after me, they're not going to get it anyway, so I might as well admit it. All through this process, people have been hit. You've been hit here. And it usually takes some corrupt corroborators, either corrupt or just totally naive or stupid within the country to sign off on these things. That's why when we're running. I say this in deep respect because well, I know the kind of pressure these people are under too. And I know back when I was doing this stuff that there was always the possibility of assassination if they didn't go along with us. And that's a pretty big one. We, in my country, in the United States, we've suffered under terrible assassinations, the two Kennedys, the Martin Luther King Jr., and many character assassinations, which can be just as effective. I think Clinton had a character assassination. A lot of the people that are opposed to the Vietnam War, and those can be vicious too. So these people are under a lot of pressure. I understand that. But the fact of the matter is, you're not responsible. And there's no reason for anybody in this country to hang your head low, to feel shameful or guilty because your country's suddenly been called a country that's near economic collapse. You didn't do it. It was done to you. You are victims. And should victims pay? If somebody snatches my wallet on the street, if somebody rapes you, should you pay for these things? I don't think so. But that's what's been happening for a long time in so many places. You're on a cutting edge here. You've got amazing resources. You've got incredible energy here through hydroelectric power and geothermal and wind, I think, too, that hasn't really been explored. There's tremendous possibilities here. I'm struck as I go around this country, and I haven't had a chance to see very much of it yet. I'm hoping to in the next few days, but you've got a lot of land, starving people all over the world. What about using some of that energy to heat huge greenhouses and light them during the winter months, and sending the food to Africa, Europe, the United States, wherever? And as I walk around your city, I'm struck by the large automobiles that you have. Just like where I live. and they all run on petroleum. There's no reason for that. You can be a leader in the electric car industry. Maybe you should use some of the aluminum from the plants here and the energy and build electric cars. I don't know, I don't know your country well enough to come up with specific proposals, but I know that you can use your energy to benefit your people. How many people in this room own an aluminum plant? But you could own greenhouses, and you could own computer services companies that use a lot of electricity. And I'm sure there's a lot of other things that can be done. And so I think, Iceland has an opportunity here to look in new directions, to move forward in new directions, and not to accept, not to put yourselves in the position that the Latin American countries are just getting themselves out of finally. They're not accepting this anymore. And I think you need to be creative. And this does not mean you have to say, oh no, we're not cooperating with the world. We're the bad boys, bad girls of the world. This means you go out and you say, we don't think this is fair. We want to negotiate something better. We want to make something better work. And wait a minute, what's the story here that our electric company is losing something like $300 million by selling cheap electricity to a foreign aluminum company? There's something about that that just doesn't seem right. And when the IMF comes in here, one of the first things they're going to ask of you is probably to privatize your electric company, because that's what they did in Ecuador, Bolivia, and Indonesia, and just about every place else where I've seen them work. So be careful for this. And I want to leave you, I'm going to stop in just a minute here, but I want to leave you with some final comments about each one of you as an individual. You have amazing power. Every one of us has incredible power. You have power. You have passion and you have talents. I don't know what each of your individual passions are, and I don't know what your talents are. I have a passion for writing, and I hope I have some talent in it. I don't know what yours are, but I know that you have passion and you have talent. Follow your passions. Use your talents. And let's all do that, but let's all head toward one single destination, and that is a sustainable, just, and peaceful world. If we each take our own individual paths and we head toward that destination, we will get there. Now, I grew up in rural New Hampshire, 300 years of Yankees, New Hampshire, Vermont. We fought in the American Revolution. As a kid, I studied the American Revolution, and I was very grateful. I thought, as a nation, we should be grateful. And I don't know how much you guys know about American history, so I'm going to cite this anyway. Tom Paine, I was very grateful that Tom Paine did not try to lead armies, and George Washington did not try to write pamphlets. Paine had passion and talent for writing pamphlets, and Washington had a talent and passions for leading men, and Martha Washington had passion and talents for bringing women together to make clothes for the soldiers at the forefront and children to make bullets for the soldiers. And they all followed their individual passions, used their talents. They each took a different route, but they were headed toward the same destination, and they got there. That's very important. You have such power. Every time you shop or decide not to, you're exercising power. Every time you speak to someone, you're exercising power. You have incredible power. Growing up in rural New Hampshire, I had no idea that African Americans in my country had to ride on the back of a bus until a woman named Rosa Parks taught me that. I don't know, again, what your history books tell you here, but how many people in this room have used to know who Rosa Parks was? Wow. I'm ashamed to say I think you know a lot more about my country's history than most people in my country know about it. I'm learning about yours now. I love it. And I also had no idea that the DDT we were spraying on the mosquitoes in the swamp behind our house was also killing fish and birds until Rachel Carson wrote a book called Silence Green and started a whole environmental movement. How many people here have heard of Rachel Carson?